Okay.
Section 3, Equalization Phase. Equalization phase is the ARB phase from May 15th to July 25th. Learning objectives. At the conclusion of this section, students should be able to list and explain the duties and responsibilities of the ARB, list and explain what a property owner may protest to the ARB, list and explain the grounds for a taxing unit challenge before the ARB, explain the requirements for approval and certification of the appraisal roll. Equalization and tax cycle. In the equalization phase, the ARB hears property owner and taxing unit complaints over valuations and orders changes as needed. The equalization phase for most properties begins May 15th and has several key deadlines. Submission of appraisal records per Property Tax Code Section 25.22 before May 15th or as soon as practicable. Chief Appraiser delivers the notice. Chief Appraiser submits records for ARB review. ARB meets to begin hearings within 10 days. Deadlines for residential property are earlier for properties that have a residence homestead exemption. Notice is to be delivered before April 1st or as soon thereafter as practicable per Property Tax Code Section 25.19. Filing of protests before May 15th. Property owners file protests before May 15th or 30 days after the date the notice was delivered, whichever is later. And taxing units file challenges. Record approval on or before July 20th.
Record approval.
Is it record approval? Okay. ARB completes substantially all hearings and approves appraisal records. Large appraisal districts may postpone this deadline as late as August 30th. Certification. The chief appraiser certifies the rolls within 5 days after the approval. ARB. The Citizen Board. It cannot be current employees or officials of appraisal district or taxing units. In large districts, some former officials are barred. In counties with a population of 100,000 individuals are ineligible to serve.
Population is more than.
That's what I said. In counties with a population of more than 100,000 individuals are ineligible to serve if appeared as a paid representative before the ARB during the preceding 2 years. The Board of Directors appoints members of the ARB if the county population is less than 120,000. ARB members are appointed by the local administrative district judge in counties with a population of 120,000 or more. They may not owe delinquent taxes or be related to appraisers or tax consultants who appear before them. They may not be closely related to a member of the appraisal district board of directors, the BOD. They may only serve 3 consecutive terms. They may be reappointed after sitting out a term. The term length is 2 years. Once appointed, members cannot be removed except for certain types of misconduct or conflicts of interest. Removal must be based on clear and convincing evidence of repeated bias or misconduct. ARB training courses conducted by the Comptroller's Office must be completed by ARB members before they are allowed to participate in hearings. Members' main function is to conduct hearings using the Comptroller's model hearing procedures and make decisions based on evidence presented. Responsibilities of the ARB is to hear and decide property owner protests, written complaints about appraisals or other matters, hear and decide taxing unit challenges, written complaints about certain matters described later, correct errors in prior year appraisal rolls, and approve appraisal records each year. Communications with the ARB. ARB members may not discuss specifics of a pending protest except in a hearing. ARB members may not communicate with another person about the property under protest. And any material exchange between the property owners and the appraisal district at a hearing concerning a protest may include materials preserved on a portable device designed to maintain electronic, magnetic, or digital reproduction of a document or image if that material will be offered or submitted to the ARB. If the appraisal district uses audio-visual equipment at a hearing on a protest, the district must provide similar equipment for use by the property owner or their agent. Steps in the equalization phase. The chief appraiser submits the records to the ARB. Property owners may file protests. Taxing units may file challenges. ARB sends notices of hearings. ARB conducts hearings and orders changes. ARB approves records when substantially all protests have been heard. Chief appraiser certifies the appraisal roll to each taxing unit. Grounds for property owner protest. Excessive appraisal. Unequal appraisal. Property appraised at a higher percentage of its true market value than others. Property appraised higher than other comparable properties after appropriate adjustments are made. Situs, the place where the property is taxable. That's another ground for property owner protest is situs, which is the place where the property is taxable. In the appraisal district or in particular taxing units. Another ground for property owner protest is denial of exemptions, denial of special use appraisal, determination of a change of use on previously qualified agricultural or timber land, determination of ownership, failure of the ARB or chief appraiser to send required notices, and any other action that applies to and adversely affects the owner. Grounds for taxing unit challenges are level of appraisal of a property category or geographic area, exclusions of property from the records, grant of any type of exemption, determination of special use appraisal, failure to identify the taxing unit as one in which a particular property is taxable, approval and certification. The ARB must finish substantially all of its hearings by July 20th. The ARB must approve the appraisal records by July 20th. Provided value of property with unresolved protest is 5% or less of the value of all other taxable property. Now I don't know where I'm going to. Is that part of the activity, the next thing, or?
Okay.
So, let's see. Hang on. No, keep recording, it's okay. So, approval and certification, this is step number 3 that we're skipping to get to. ARB approval creates appraisal roll. Number 4, appraisal roll certified and sent to each taxing unit within 5 days of ARB approval. That's the chief appraiser's duty, and each roll contains properties within the taxing unit, and the taxing unit's appraisal roll is the basis for its tax roll. Post ARB appeals. ARB orders can be appealed by a suit in district court. ARB orders can be appealed through binding arbitration if the property qualifies as a residence homestead regardless of value or any property valued at $5 million or less. The only matters at issue are the value of the property or unequal appraisal. The owner does not owe delinquent taxes. The owner must pay a deposit that varies depending on the type and value of the property. The minimum is $450 for a homestead valued at less than $500,000, and the maximum is $1,550 for a non-homestead property valued is more than $3 million but less than $5 million. ARB orders determining a protest can be appealed to the State Office of Administrative Hearings, the SOAH, if the appraised value of the property is more than $1 million. A filing fee must be paid in order to appeal. This applies only to an appeal of the appraised or market value made by an appraisal review board in connection with real or personal property, but does not include industrial property. If the owner has paid taxes and the determination of a district court reduces the owner's tax liability, the jurisdiction must refund the excess taxes and pay interest on that refund. We're down to questions.